Good morning. I am going to be having a chat shortly with Siobhan Collins, and I'm just going to invite her along now, and we'll hopefully get to start a little conversation. Hello, hi Siobhan.
Hi, Lana. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, good. This seems a little easier than imagined. This is very
I
straightforward
know.
joining. Yeah,
I know. It's nearly too easy where you forget that we're just having, but it is. It's just like having a chat. We're so used to talking to people on screens now that it
yeah,
is.
I get.
It's
Yeah,
so
it,
it's just so
it's becoming
straightforward.
nature, isn't it?
That's
It
it.
is becoming second nature. But I had never done it via Insta Live before, so I didn't realize how straightforward that was.
I know. Well, neither did I. Well, I only started doing these a couple of weeks ago and I'd never done one before. So you literally just have to throw yourself in because it's live and there's no way to practice beforehand. But it's straightforward. So that's good. They've made it easy for
Good,
us. But
good.
yeah, thanks so much. I'm delighted to be chatting with you today. I know it's a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but to give a little bit of context on why we're having a chat today, you are a regular artist to our life drawing, our untutored life drawings that happen on Thursdays, and you very kindly share all of the amazing work that you do. And we just started, you and I started having a conversation um, through Instagram about your work. And I saw one comment where you said it was a warm up exercise. And that was when I started to look a little bit more into the art that you do and saw that actually you're an incredible botanical artist. And I guess it just opened my eyes up to how people approach art in different ways, and actually exercising your art and your practice is probably a huge part to development. And yeah, I was delighted that our life drawing can do that, for people, but definitely to then see the work that you do outside of the life drawing was incredible as well. So I guess I'd love to know more about how you got into art, and I guess how you chose. So watercolor is your medium of choice, and then we were having a chat recently about how you choose the subjects that you draw.
Well, first of all, thanks a million for inviting me. I was very honoured to be asked, so it's great to be here. And I am loving every Thursday morning those life painting classes. They're just fabulous. I really enjoyed them. They're really energizing. Um, you've a great setup up there with your models are amazing and very if for anybody who hasn't actually done one of your life modeling painting sessions before, it's incredibly kind of sophisticated with the camera work and everything. So it's lovely. It would be lovely to be there in presence, but it's certainly the next best thing. I'm really enjoying them. But yeah, how did I get into art? I think, to be honest, I've always, from as far back as I can remember as a child, I've always been into art. I mean, it always felt like it was always kind of my thing, even in my family. The the fact that I could draw was part of my identity, was part of what I felt I was good at. Um, so that never left me. I've always had kind of that compulsion to draw and to paint, but I guess I kind of never really gave it any extended time. I'm like I've always kind of delved in and out of it over the years, and I've always kind of chosen kind of creative work for myself really. But it's only I'd say over the past maybe 4.5 years or so that I kind of just made a decision to make it a much more major part of my life, to really kind of give it space, and to develop my art practice, to make it something kind of regular. It was kind of like giving that gift to myself after a lifetime of doing loads of other things.
Yeah.
Um, so as part of that, I I looked around kind of to do some courses, kind of to start myself off. I wasn't really sure where to start. And I came across this amazing botanical artist. She's an Irish artist called Siobhan Collins. So I did a 2-day course with her down in Bantry, and her work just blew me away. I'd never really seen anything like it. The botanical art is just, it's so, the technique is just so advanced, and it's so beautiful. Her work's just so beautifully rendered. I could hardly believe a human person made it. So she spoke to me about the diploma in botanical art. It's based in London. It's with the Society of Botanical Artists, and it's a 2.5-year, very intensive course, really. So within 6 months, I started that. I started that in January 2018, and just finished 6 months ago. It was extended a little bit with COVID, but they work through either watercolors or color pencils, and I chose watercolor as my medium. Okay. So it was a very intensive, very high learning curve to do the course. And I really just threw myself into it and loved it for loads of different reasons, for reasons that I didn't even imagine I'd love it for. I kind of actually, I really started appreciating nature a little bit more and learning so much about plants. And because it's such highly detailed work, one of the things that really taught me was the value of observation, how observation is really, really key to really, I mean, I suppose we all see things, we all look at things, but it involved looking at a deeper level, if you like.
Yeah.
You know, even if I was painting a turnip, which I did, you know, you're kind of looking at that individual turnip, you're looking at the different little scars it has, and you know, and I think that's one of the things I'm really carrying away with my course, and that I'm trying to apply in my art as it evolves as well, and as I'm doing more figurative human kind of painting. But yeah, so yeah, I really loved it, but I was keen to kind of, by the time I completed it, I was kind of keen to kind of break some of the rules. It's a very highly disciplined, rule-based art as well, because it has a scientific purpose. It's art, but it's based on accurate depictions of plants and flowers. So you have to be so accurate, even in relation to matching colours and making sure even the texture of the leaf, if it's a hairy leaf, that all those tiny little hairs are painted in. So I still love the art. I follow some amazing, wonderful botanical artists, but for me, I kind of felt I needed to kind of break some rules and move, kind of become a little bit looser in my work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've Yanni Petters she's an incredible botanical artist, and she does our watercolor classes here, and she does the botanical. She has, I've seen, just when you were talking about botanical art and that attention to detail, like we're so used to calling a turnip, and in your head, yeah, you have a general idea of what a turnip looks like. But when you explore that as an artist, and to, like you said, give an accurate representation of it, you realize how incredible nature is. And like, no two turnips are going to be the same. And then you start looking at the range of flowers and leaves and petals, and every single, and even that stems look different, or how a tree grows and their branches will go in different directions. It does give you a total, another, I guess, just another grow for nature, and how, an appreciation for it.
That's it. Yeah.
What was interesting when you said you pick, you have had creative careers. When you told me you're a software writer, is that correct?
It's what I'm doing now, and I have been doing it for the past 7 years. My job that pays the bills is I write technical manuals. Yeah. I work with Johnson Controls, and I write instruction manuals, user manuals, based on software and hardware products. So yeah, so my art is very different to my day job.
Well, when you told me that, I was thinking, wow,
Yeah,
from having technology and script and, to going then from nature and watercolor and art, I was thinking, wow,
yeah.
that's so broad a difference. But you pulled out, you were like, there's actually much more similarities than you think, and detail was one of them, having
Yeah,
an attention to detail.
yeah. I kind of, it was, yeah, I kind of find, maybe particularly this week because I've been thinking about our chat and everything, but I've kind of just been thinking a little bit about kind of the different aspects of my life because I feel like I've kind of changed career so many different times, and it can, when I talk about my varied career, it can sound very disjointed, but I'm actually seeing so many more connections between the various
Really?
different things that I've done. And I suppose in the job I currently have, you're right, absolutely, it's very detail orientated. But another aspect of it is you have to be very aware of who you're writing for,
Ah,
who your audience is, because you don't want to give them any information they don't need to have. It's technical, so they don't really own you're really writing to give them the knowledge they need in order to do a particular task. So that type of conciseness and focusing on the audience needs is kind of a nice way. I kind of like kind of thinking about that in relation to my art as well, kind of thinking about um, the observer, the person who will be viewing it. And it's partly kind of why I'm experimenting a little bit more now with kind of figurative art and being more loose and gestural. Um, is the idea, I think, that things don't have to be perfectly rendered, and maybe when they're less perfectly rendered, it actually draws the person who's viewing it in a little bit more, that they themselves kind of probably have to work to find the meaning a little bit more in if that, I'm not sure if I'm making sense or if I'm
no,
rambling a little bit here.
I remember. I couldn't
Yeah,
remember what the second connection was, and when you said it
yeah,
there, I remember really loving that you're painting with the audience in mind, and that allowing them to have a little bit more, using their imagination to finish the composition in whatever way they sort of
yeah,
feel is a lovely gift to give then to the viewer of your art, which is, it's very, very nice. And it also, it's a testament to the artist as well, if they're able to, give some information on canvas or paper for then the
yeah,
viewer to have an interpretation of, because when you're doing your life drawing, it's not the complete figure because you're doing our short poses, so, but you capture the right amount of what the viewer needs to see, that we get a sense of the pose and
yeah.
the different anatomy or whatever areas you're drawing. So it's lovely.
Thank you very much. I try to. I'm not always successful. It's a very. I think partly why I love the life drawing is it's so immediate. It really, like it really, I think you mentioned that I described it as a warm up session, and to some degree it is, because you're kind of thrown into it, and poses change quite quickly, and you have to be quite energetic in your approach, and
Yeah.
it lifts your energies. But in a way, it's so much more than that as well. It really, in a way that I didn't achieve in botanical art, it really forces me to kind of, again, observation becomes key. And I try, even if the pose is really, really short, even if it's only a 5-minute pose, to take that 30 seconds or a minute and really look at the model, and to really try and get a feel for the model and for the pose, and just kind of try. And I know I won't be able to complete an amazing painting, but to try and kind of focus in what are the main lines, what are the main areas, to kind of translate what I have in front of me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
I'm
and that's
yeah. Go
what you
ahead.
were saying. You were saying to me that especially during lockdown, and when you decided to give more time to what you were, investing in your art, that you were picking up on the things that were around you. I heard a bird outside your window just there at the start of our chat. So birds was something that you painted, and then flowers, and then our online course was something then again that, you know, these different things started to slot together.
Yeah, I think I'm like I have a lot of bird paintings on my page, and I love birds. I've always loved birds. I remember trying to catch a bird when I was about 7 years of age, but spent the whole day trying to catch birds. But yeah, and I think really during COVID last year, during our lockdown, I think we all got such. I think really loads of people I've spoken to feel the exact same, that we got so much joy out of nature, that really nature was, key to, it was our therapy really at the time. And I think I notice birds so much more. I can actually recognize so many different types of birds more than I could previously, which is lovely. And in my walks as well, I'm kind of lucky that within my 5K radius, there is the Atlantic Pond here in Cork, and there's a heron colony. So you can walk down and you can actually see the herons, building their nests, getting ready for their young. It's just very inspiring. And so yeah, and plus a lot of the bird images that I draw, they're kind of quick and easy, kind of, so a lot of them were done maybe in between assignments, so they were kind of a lovely relief from kind of very detailed assignment-based work as well. So yeah, I really enjoy, nature is definitely a major inspiration, but also one thing I kind of, getting back to the figurative painting a little bit, it's amazing what can strike a chord. I had a conversation with somebody at work last week, Laura, a colleague of mine, but she was chatting. She was saying that my figurative paintings, really remind her of fragmented poems, and I thought it was just the loveliest thing to say, and it really struck a chord with me because I love poetry myself, and I wrote a thesis some time back on poetry, and the poem that I wrote about was a fragment, and it deliberately fragmented because the idea again was as a rhetorical device to get the reader to fill the gaps and bring in their own interpretation. And and in that sense, all those connections are kind of beginning to build. And
yeah. Wow, so you really do have a style, and it's starting to sort of get nurtured now as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking. I'm giving myself kind of this time, kind of very much as kind of a playtime to kind of evolve my art a little bit more. And like there are definitely inspirations and interests that will follow through. Like, I love the idea of pulling the botanical side and the figurative side together a little bit more, and maybe like bringing the skills I learned there along with me. And I love the idea. And again, from my reading, I listen to audiobooks mostly when I'm painting. And I listened to one recently called Braiding Seagrass, I think it was called. Robin Wall Kimmerer is the author, and it's a beautiful book. She's a botanist, but the book itself is so magical and very lyrical in the way it's written. But she speaks an awful lot about the relationship between humans and plants. And reciprocity, and how nature and plants give us everything, and how and how we in turn should look after them as well. And that idea is I love, and I feel it's going to be very inspirational in how I develop. Yeah.
Isn't it funny that when you open yourself up to receiving sort of information for your next path, just things start to fall into place so much easier than if you were forcing, I have to sit down and I have to paint this, or I have to finish this book, or this is what. And then if you just open yourself up to being free to receiving whatever information comes in, and then you obviously are beginning to see a little bit of a connection going on between what's falling in front of you. There's a question here from one of our of the people that are watching us at the moment, from Mona, who's saying, have you any tips on fighting that need to finish a drawing or a sketch, that she always wants to perfect it? And this is something that we do hear a lot, where people are worried about perfecting things, or how to put the paint down and know I'm done, not to touch it anymore and overwork it. What would you?
That's a really, really good question. And it's actually something that I struggle with too, and particularly with watercolor, because it's so easy to overwork a watercolor and lose what is beautiful about it, which is kind of translucence and kind of fluidity. And definitely the classes work in that your time is limited.
Okay.
That you only have a limited period of time in order to paint something, so that overworking, it gets resolved there.
Yes.
And there's a terrible hailstone. I don't know if you can hear it or not.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
The sun was shining 2 minutes ago. It was beautiful, and now that it's hailstoning down.
I didn't know if it was somebody with a plastic bag or something in the background, but it's hail. Oh my God.
It's hailstone.
Hailstone in Cork.
Yeah. But I don't know, sometimes I kind of try and stop and walk away from a painting, not knowing whether it's finished or not, and maybe leave it sit for a little while, and kind of really maybe saying, it's so hard to know when something's finished, but just maybe question myself, is there anything I can really add to it? And, you know. And
I wonder, is doing, say, the life drawing classes something that helps you with that, because you have no other choice but for it to be finished?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
That feeling of, I just have to, it just has to be finished.
Yeah, absolutely. You've a limited amount of time, and the model changes pose. You have to kind of just turn the page and start the next piece. And even though a lot of the time, like the work I do during the life drawing sessions, I kind of, whether they're good or bad, and they can be both. I keep them all because I find them great as study references afterwards.
Okay.
And to even just to maybe just, if I, you know, just to have a kind of a pose in mind if I want to kind of construct a new painting. But definitely the lightness of touch, it really helps to develop that painting quickly. Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, it's great that you found us, because you are over in Cork and you're still able to join in every week to our sessions. So there's silver linings to this COVID business, where we are able to open up our studios to a lot more people, when we wouldn't have thought that online would work so well with art. But it does, you know, there are opportunities still. So we're grateful for that. But because I was talking to Brenda Malley last week, and she was saying her way of finishing a painting is her husband. So he just comes in, she totally trusts him, and he says it's done. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of trust to be, you know, putting in another person, but that's what works for her. Is there anybody that kind of comes up to you and says you just need to leave it be now, or do you use a much more personal?
I'm like, it's really great she had that level of trust in his opinion. That's wonderful. And it is lovely to get feedback. And I actually, my husband, I do often ask his opinion as well. And I have great confidence in his opinion, but I can also dismiss it at times if I feel like I want to develop something differently myself. You know, not dismiss it as in being dismissive, but, you know, if I strongly have a different feeling, you know, about my work, or about taking it to a different place. But from the point of view of when it's finished, no, I don't. It's such a great question. I wish I had a good answer, because it is really, it's trial and error, and I kind of think maybe just giving space to a painting, you know, maybe just kind of leaving it sit for a while. I kind of find sometimes, though, even taking a photograph of a painting or looking at it in a mirror, it kind of separates it from you, and you begin to look at it objectively and look at it as something separate.
Yeah, and was it one of our other tutors was saying something similar where he actually turns his picture upside down to just view it in a different way, and I wonder if when the question pops into your head of, is this finished, that could be possibly the point that you, like you said, you put it to one side and you leave it to sit in its own space for a little bit and then revisit it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a discipline. There's always that temptation to kind of add that extra stroke. And I have ruined paintings myself by overworking them, definitely. So it is something I think that you just gradually get a feel for over time. But yeah.
Well, we're delighted to, I can't believe how fast the time goes having these conversations, Siobhan. But I've really enjoyed chatting to you. I love hearing the process and how you work through your art, and I love that we're able to facilitate that process a little bit. And then your work is stunning. So I hope that you continue, and I look forward to watching the development, because I know you have said when we chatted before that you're kind of giving your space to your art to develop that little bit. So I really look forward to seeing where it goes.
Thank you so much, Lana, and thanks again for the chat. I really enjoyed it as well. I can't believe how quickly the time went either.
No, I know. And we'll definitely keep in touch. I know,
Great.
Well, hopefully you'll continue doing the life drawing sessions, and maybe we might even get you working with Yanni Petters, our botanical artist. And sure, we'll always be sharing your lovely pieces of work. I love that you share that with us. So I'm delighted that we can share the work that you do when you're doing your life drawing pieces with us during our sessions. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lana. And just to finish, I actually really admire Yanni Peters' work. She's another botanical artist that I follow. Her work is amazing.
Oh, she's stunning. Yeah, she's incredible. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sure she'll be delighted to hear that from one botanical artist to the other. You'll have mutual respect for the level of detail that goes into the pieces that you've done. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful Friday. I hope you get out and the weather improves a little bit.
I think it's beginning to look it's beginning to clear up there again now, so I'll hopefully get out for a walk later. Thanks so much, Lana. It was lovely talking to you.
You too. Have a great day. Bye, Siobhan.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I know we'll be chatting to Mags Harnett next week. She's going to be our art historian, so she's going to be joining me for another chat. We haven't confirmed the time, but it's from a botanical artist to an art historian. I love how varied these conversations can be. So I hope, and thanks to everybody who's had a little view to our conversation today, and it'll be in our Instagram IGTV page as well if you want to have a look back. Thanks again, Siobhan.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.